feet, not time on the watch. It taught me to find the joy in the grind, not just the goal. Katie gets that. She's a mom of two, a nurse practitioner, and one of the toughest ultrarunner out there. Top 10s at Western State, a gotcha run at Leadville. She has learned the same truth. Grit is not about forcing it. It's about staying in the fight when the plan falls apart. This episode is about playing the long game, fueling before you fade, reframing before you spiral, trusting that consistency beats chaos. It's not about chasing perfection, it's about showing up, solving problems, and choosing joy even when it hurts. If you have ever pushed too hard you forgot why you run, this one is for you. Let's talk grit, joy, and what it really means to keep going when the finish line isn't guaranteed. In that note, please let me introduce to our guest today. Here is Katie.
Hey, Katie, welcome to the podcast. And I know we've been waiting to hear from you, and I think this will be a very interesting and good conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You are pretty well known, but outside of running, if you had to introduce Katie, then how would you do it?
Sure. I would say that I'm a mom, most importantly. That's my number one. I'm a mom of two boys, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they're the love of my lives. I am married to my husband, who I adore, and I am one of 5 kids. Family is very important to me. And I live in Mammoth Lakes, California, and we made a lot of sacrifices or changes to our lives to make sure we could grow our children in a beautiful mountainous area. It's a very remote place in California and kind of 4 hours from Tahoe Lake, if anybody's heard of that. But it is the Eastern Sierra Range is absolutely incredible, and we wanted to raise our children here. And so we moved here, and now we're never moving again. And I run professionally for HOKA, and I'm also a nurse practitioner. So that was obviously my first vocation to be a nurse practitioner. I've been an NP for 13 years. So I don't know if you guys have nurse practitioners in Berlin, but I am also in medicine.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada is nice. I used to live in California,
Okay.
so I've been there I think 5 years. I lived in California for 5 years
Where did you live?
before moving all over the US.
Where did you live in
I was Monterey.
Monterey?
It's Monterey,
Ah,
yeah.
okay. Beautiful. Yeah, on the coast.
Yep.
Nice.
Yes, right on the coast. And I lived a little bit in Hollister, and then I moved to Florida, Texas, Phoenix, and then I headed to Berlin. So everywhere.
Everywhere. You're all over the map. What's your job that you
All
travel
of the,
so
yes.
much?
I am a software developer,
Okay.
so it's easier. You can work remotely, but I moved because of job to everywhere. But here also because of personal reasons, so I like it here now. So hoping to make it permanent, so just working through that.
I love it. I hear Berlin is.
You said you are a Oh yes, oh yes. Have you ever been to
No,
Berlin?
I had a friend who I used to run with in Los Angeles when I lived in LA, and he was a really great trail runner, and we used to train together. And then he moved to Berlin to be a DJ. And I always wanted to go visit him, but I have not been to Berlin. So someday.
It is a city of music. There's the underground thing is the rave is pretty famous,
Yeah.
so that makes sense for him to come here.
Yeah.
I've not been yet on one of those, but it I have heard a lot of things because Europeans are into the waving thing or rave thing that's called, so it makes totally sense.
Man, not me. I must sleep by 9 o'clock every night or earlier if I can be. Yes.
Same,
Wake up too early with the kids and yeah, just very tired. So I don't know.
same. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been the one to go to bed early. Like I cannot get up until like 10 o'clock if you ask me to wake up. But if you ask me to get up at 3, then I would be okay to do it. But so yeah, it I'm like a old person, like who goes to bed at 8:39. I'm like done. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I
I
can't do
think
it
that's when you
anymore.
exercise a lot too. Your body's just tired. Like it needs rest. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and with ultra running and with marathon training too, it's the sleep is important. So I think I've been focusing trying to get sleep, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay,
It
can
does
we
not
talk
work.
about this? So you were training for marathon and you were really trying to hit
Oh,
your goals, and then you told me that you were getting burnt out, but you were pushing and pushing and pushing, and then you got injured, and then you didn't even hit the goal that
yeah.
you were trying so hard for so many months to try and hit. And I love that story because I think it's so just pertinent to every runner, right? Where we all are striving for a goal. Maybe it's a time, maybe it's a distance, and we all are trying to push ourselves to be better and better and better. And then sometimes you can just dig your own grave where you can't get yourself out of it and you're just like spiraling and you're not happy anymore, you know? Can you talk a little bit about what you learned from that experience?
Being a marathoner, my goal always was to be faster. I mean, that's why I run. And each marathon, I have only trained for marathons, and every time I wanted to get a PB and PB. And as you know, it's easier to PB when you're running 5:30 and then coming to 4, let's say, right? But once you start hitting 4 and trying to push further, it needs a lot of work. And my my marathon training was so intense because I ran Monday was 15 16 kilometers, and at 4:30 to 5, that is what I used to run at the speed. And every day, and you keep running and running and running, and you feel like, I think personally I was probably at the best of my peak in terms of running ability, because I felt so fit before leading up to the race. But I was pushing myself so hard, I got injured, and I was on time to hit my goal up until 30 kilometers, and then the quads was not healed for 2 weeks. So, and after that, I had never experienced so much pain. The knots were forming on my bottom calf, and then it was rolling towards the back of my hamstring, and it was so rough. I've never had so much pain. And once the marathon was finished, I still got a PR. Like I got it, but I was not satisfied, and I hated running. And I was like, what is the point? If I train for 5 6 months and if I can't hit my goal, then why am I doing this? And and the main thing I learned is in this training block is you need to have fun and you need to enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, then you want to run it. Yeah, my ultramarathon was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but I didn't complain because it was hard, or I was satisfied with my result. And I started to love the running again. Once I finished the Bali marathon, I hated running. And up until January, I was getting sick, and I every time I went out running, I was like, I hate this. I don't want to run.
Mm,
And once I got into this training block, I was like, oh my god, I just the main difference was that I never looked at my split once for my
mm,
ultra marathon. I ran just time on feet, time on feet, time on feet. So I didn't care how long I was hitting, what was my split, how long distance I needed to hit. So I didn't care all of that, and that made me so happy. I cried
yeah.
on 55 kilometer. I cried because it was the best thing I've ever done. Like it was the hardest thing, and
Mm,
I was so proud of myself that I was able to complete this thing that I set out to. And I never cried in my marathon before, and I recorded a video of me. I was like, and oh my god, I cannot speak because it's so emotional that I I used to be very big,
mm,
and running 55 56 kilometer was never the thing I ever imagined that I would do. And when it was 5 kilometer, I recorded myself, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, I couldn't speak properly, and it just was like, wow, I did it. And I was proud of myself because from being this fat person, I was always heavy throughout my adulthood, and I did hard thing, and I believe that I can do hard thing. And that was just like, oh, it still builds chills. Like when I talk about
yeah,
it
it's
in
like a
that moment, when I
release.
remember it, then
Yeah. I mean, it
yeah,
sounds like that emotional finish probably was also you coming back to love of yourself and love of your life and love of running. And like, it was so much deeper than just finishing finishing was kind of what catapulted you to have those feelings, but that's what I love about running, is that you can experience such big feelings for something that it doesn't matter actually. Like, your life isn't on the line, and I think that that's something that's really important to remember, that we can throw ourselves into really hard things and do really, really tough things that you thought were maybe impossible, or you're very curious, like, maybe I can, and you surprise yourself that you can do it. And you do it but without there's no consequence. It's okay. You're not going to hurt another person if you mess up. It's not the end of the world, right? Like, there's always something to learn from failure also. And I feel like that's what sport can give you. It can give you these big experiences and growth with like personal growth within yourself and your community and your connections, but with something that is, inconsequential, really, in the scheme of life. It's not war. It's not, the plague. It's not, like, it's okay, to mess up, and you're not going to hurt yourself maybe you might hurt yourself, actually, like, get injured, but you're not going to, it's really inconsequential in the sense of how much you put into a sport and like how much you can actually take out of it for something that doesn't actually, it's not going to affect like your life or somebody else's life, like I think about in medicine, about if I mess up, I could really kill someone. Like, I could hurt someone, while you're driving, you could mess up and go into the other lane and kill a family. Like, there's big things that can happen with things that happen in our daily life that really are consequential. And that's what's so fun about sport and about running, for me, ultra running, is that I'm pushing my body and pushing myself to something that is, it's okay. It's not the end of the world if you don't get your goal, because then you can pick another goal, right? And I think so many of us hold on so tight to the goal that we're tight and we're so focused and driven that our insides are really like unhappy, because we're so focused and so tight and so serious about it, which, for so long I have applauded. We all love the athlete that is just so dialed and precise about their splits and very mathematical about whatever. And I just feel like, and they're so motivated and so hardworking and disciplined. Yes. And where's the joy? Let's bring in some joy, like some lightheartedness and it's okay. It's just sport. It's just running. It's going to be okay. I think we put the world in our hands, and it's for our self-growth, and I think if we have that perspective, it makes sport a lot more fun. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that has been the major difference for me personally when I transitioned from running road marathon to ultramarathon, is that I don't care about the time.
Yeah.
So I'm running Berlin Marathon, so I'm so chill now that I don't care how I finish. I'm just gonna run it. I don't care if it takes whatever time. So
Yeah.
I am just gonna run it and try to have fun. That is the goal, is to just go and enjoy and have fun. I think my perspective have changed so much drastically in this training block. So that is the goal.
And it's fun
I
to
registered
push,
for 100K
right?
next year. So
Like, it's fun when you do something
yeah,
hard, right? Like, you see a big hill, a big climb, and you're like, I'm going to climb every step of that. Like, I'm not going to walk it. And you're like determined, right? That's fun. It's fun to push yourself, right? Like, that is joyful, at least in my opinion, to be like, yes, I got to the top. Like, hell yeah. Like, let's go. I did it, and that's a fun thing, but it doesn't have to be like so tight that you're disappointed in yourself if you don't do it, right? It's like trusting yourself that you've given it all you can. And if you give it all you can and you still don't meet your goal, well, then you gave it all you can, and you got to trust that you gave it all you can, like you can't give more than, what you have put in. And so 100% is all you can do. And we all say we can give 110%, but it's like, Sometimes we think our limit is at that 90% and you realize, oh yeah, I can actually push another 10% actually. And you surprise yourself. And that's part of the training and being able to push yourself to kind of those limits. So yeah, that recently has happened to me. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
Yes, definitely. I think that we are so hard on ourselves, especially marathoners when they are chasing this higher split and time, and they are pushing themselves so hard, 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 and when the goal is not there, then we are so self-critical. I
Yeah.
think that's been the biggest thing. Is now I don't care. Now it's perspective have changed, and now I'm just going to enjoy this.
Yep.
Now talking about you, you said you are mom and you were nurse practitioner, and then there came the ultra running. So how did this all happen, and when did you fall in love with the running?
Yeah, so sort of my start to this, and I think it's a good lesson in life because it started very late for me. And I tell my kids all the time, you have no idea what opportunities are going to come in your life. And you have anything can happen. And if you say yes and are open to it and you follow your heart about something that you really enjoy, then that can really open up some incredible life path. And for me, I was a nurse practitioner. I was working in the LA County emergency room night shift. I started running I'd get off of shift after a really traumatic night and I couldn't sleep because of what I had seen that night. It was a lot of trauma. And so I'd go for a run. And so I started to run, but this was after college, like in college, I was always playing ball sports. I played soccer and volleyball and basketball, and I'd never, ran ever. Like that was it. For me, running was just a way to condition to get better at soccer or to get better at basketball, right? And so, but I always was loving the outside. I grew up in a very small town in this beautiful valley, and my parents were always taking us kids backpacking and into the woods, and I loved being outside. And so after, fast forward in my life, after I was working in the emergency room and I started running just on the roads because that's all I knew. I didn't really realize you could run on trails. And then, yeah, fast forward, I read this book, Born to Run. I'm sure you've heard of it, but it's a book that's very popular. And I was one of the people that read that book and was like, what? You can run on trails? And I was actually on my honeymoon in New Zealand, and my husband and I were reading this book, and we were like, oh my gosh, we're just going to run everywhere. And it was so much fun. And I covered so much ground. We got to see so much more than just hiking. And we were like, this is the best. And I came back to LA and joined a trail running group and got to learn all about our mountains in LA and explore. And I was having so much fun. And just that's when I started to understand ultra running. And I thought, maybe I can do one of these things, And anyway, but I was working full time. And anyways, then I had a kid, and it was, there's just like a lot going on. I hit a 10-month-old. My oldest was 10 months old, and I ran my first 50K and I won it and was like, okay, I want to go to Western States. Like totally had no idea how hard it was to get into Western States, and I didn't have a coach. I was clueless. I won one race and was like, I can go to Western States. And anyways, it took us, let's see, 6 more years until I got back in, until I got into Western States after that. But I was hooked, and I started learning a ton about ultra running and trail running, and my coach helped me a lot. And I just fell in love and was like, I'm never going back. And I don't know, I guess in 2021, I got a golden ticket to get into Western States and was able to get sponsored at that time. At the time, I was sponsored by a different shoe company for 4 years. And I loved running, and it was so fun. And I was still working full time and also able to juggle being a professional runner. And then I got injured, which was not fun. I had 2 foot surgeries, and yeah, I was able to run. I got 4th place, 5th place, and 9th place at Western States. And the 9th place at Western States is when I broke my foot. So that was a hard race, but I had 2 foot surgeries. And now last year I took a full year of just on the bike, and I competed doing gravel cycling. And then now I'm back to fully running. And so this is kind of my comeback year. And, the hope is to get back into Western states. And yeah, so I have lots of other goals also. I will be running CCC next year, but this is definitely my comeback year of trying to get back into the fitness that I used to have and to compete with the best in the world. And it's been a journey. And yeah, so I could talk about my year, but yeah, it's been really a fun thing that I never manifested. I never wanted this to happen. I never was like, I want to be a professional trail runner. I didn't even know what that was, So it was kind of fun to have it fall into my lap and just be like, wow, I guess I'm good at this, and I really want to do this more and more. And so that's where I'm at. Yep.
I think I like you. I like this feeling too, and I think the ability to go and enjoy the trail and just be chill about it and not stress about time and what speeds we have to hit. I think that is one of the beautiful thing, and the community, of course. And it's
Yeah.
I've reached out to so many people, and they're so cool and it's chill, laid back, and I think that's what. So it's so nice too, because I was talking to Jessie, and then she told me something that it was so true. When we are running in marathon, that I never talk with the person on the left or right, in front or back, and she pointed out. And then when I was running the ultra, the person didn't know me. He was running 70K, and then he gave me some pointers like, you need to learn how to power hike, because he saw me running slowly on uphill, and he's like, you need to learn how to power hike. It's very useful. So we were shouting, not even talking, like shouting, and it was like, oh my god, it was silly, it was hilarious though, and it was the one of the last biggest hill, and we were just shouting, and that was like, oh my god, this is fun, this is fun.
Yeah, I ran Leadville
Hi,
last
Kitty.
weekend, and
Yeah.
it was really fun because the first, I don't know, like 3.5 miles, I just chatted with Ann Flower the whole time, and she ended up winning and getting the course record of a 31-year-old course record. It was incredible. And it was just one of those moments where I felt like so lucky that we could just chat and be running such a fast pace at 10,000 feet of altitude, and being like, wow, it's really fun to feel like fit enough to be able to talk while you're running, because when I was coming back from injury, I did not feel that way, right? And so it's a good reminder that to just even be able to not take things for granted, like, sure, the community, but if you can't talk, then that's not as much fun. So it's definitely a carrot to be able to hang out with friends and to be able to talk, and like being able to run well while talking. I couldn't do that last year when I was gravel cycling. So for me, it's been fun to be able to come back and be like, wow, finally, my fitness is back. I can run really fast and still talk. And that was like, okay, this speed is okay now. I'm fit again. And so that was really reassuring. But yeah, the community part, every race, we're all talking to each other, and that's kind of how you gauge your effort level too, and how much your perceived exertion, how much you're putting out, right? Like if you're going too hard and you're redlining too early, you can't talk. So it kind of helps you gauge, being able to talk with your partner next to you helps you be like, okay, I'm in a good place. I can keep this pace for a while. So it's a good tool anyway. Yeah.
Talking about that race, how was that feeling for you?
Yeah.
Because
So,
it's one of the very toughest races.
sure. Yeah. So I've had a different year than I was hoping for. I came back again, I was injured. So I wanted to give myself a full year. I really, like many listeners, I'm sure you want to play the long game, right? When you're injured, and what you want to do is just fix it and move on, and not have to keep, like, you want it to be healed as soon as possible. And that's what I did after my first surgery. And I followed the surgeon's rule, like what they said to do. And my foot was actually still broken. And so that was a really hard reality when I was like, well, they're wrong. And I think a lot of the literature and the evidence that the surgeon is going off of is for runners that do road running. But I'm a trail runner, so my foot moves differently. Of course, I do some road, and some track work, of course, but I'm mostly on trail. And so my foot was moving differently than than the literature. And so I just was like, you know what? I'm not going to they say I'm cleared after the second surgery, and I don't care. I'm going to take a whole year because I just really want to play the long game. And they told me, listen, you probably will never run again. And I'm like, I'm going to run again. That's not an option. So I think if you just give yourself that full acceptance of like, I'm going to just not keep pushing. And I accepted that I was injured and really leaned into gravel cycling, and I had a blast and competed on the gravel bike and had a great community here, and I had a blast. And then I was like, okay, I did my year. And then I started training with running. I was like dabbling with running, but like didn't start training with running until December of last year. And then in February, I tried to run for a golden ticket. And that was silly because I was not even close to being ready for that. And so that was actually my first DNF. And that was really hard because I just signed with HOKA, and I was like really surprised that I couldn't compete with my friends that I used to be able to compete with. And I just didn't have enough time. My body needed more time to train. And so I signed up for Canyons 100K, which is another golden ticket. And I was going for the golden ticket. And again, my quads were shot. Like I was just, my muscular skeletal system was just not ready for the pounding after a year on the bike. And so I got 11th place. That was really tough. I was in 10th, I was in 9th, and then I was in 10th. Anyways, I got passed in the last like half a mile, and I just couldn't run. Like I was running as fast as I could. And that race, I felt okay because I was like, you know what? I gave it my all. I wasn't fit enough, but everything I had on that day, I gave. So I was happy because I just knew I wasn't ready yet. Like my body wasn't ready to compete the way I wanted it to. I've run 250Ks since then. I got second and then won one and felt really good at the last one, and then went into Leadville last weekend really confident because that 50K I felt really strong again and felt like myself. So I go into the Leadville 100 miler feeling confident. And like I said, I was feeling great running, and I was leading for 26 miles and feeling like I was putting in a really easy effort, but I was up 10 minutes on course record pace and was really surprised and happy that finally my body came back. And then I had a very, I'm just going to say it and you can cut it out if it's gross, but I had explosive diarrhea, like bad, like GI upset. And that was really frustrating because I was so fit. And then to have that happen was like, no, and so the next 50 miles, I just kept pushing forward and staying positive, and I was in second place until mile 76, even though I couldn't consume anything and was having a really hard time keeping down any calories, and that was really tough. But I still kept going forward, and I stayed positive, and I was doing everything I could. And then I hit an aid station with my crew, and they were like, Katie, you don't look good. And I'm like, I'm still going to finish this. I'm not DNFing this race. And so I got, covered in warm clothes and was ready for a whole night of just, even if I have to walk it in, I just kept thinking it was going to turn around. I was being very realistic about my circumstance, but also optimistic, kept thinking that it's going to turn around it's going to turn around, just keep moving forward. And that's never turned around. And I headed out of that aid station and made it about a mile. And then I fell on the side of the road and was in fetal position and just vomiting bile and was a wreck. I mean, I was dizzy. Almost my pacer was with me and she's like, Katie, you're acting drunk. You're a college girl, So I decided that I couldn't do that. Well, they decided for me. They were like, Katie, we can't send you off into a trail for the next 20 miles. You're going to need search and rescue. And I was disappointed because I wanted to finish that race, even if it wasn't what I'm capable of. I wanted to at least finish. But honestly, they made the right call. And it was sort of, I know I gave everything in myself. So I came out of that race actually okay. A lot of people checking on me, worried about me, and I'm like, I'm fine, actually. I gave it my all. And isn't that all we can do? I really tried to problem solve out there. I was really positive and tried to use the experience that I've had. And, I'm proud of that. And I think that's all we can ask of ourselves is I know deep down in my soul, I couldn't have gone any faster. I couldn't have done anything different. I problem solved. I think the issue is that I took Imodium after I had my GI upset, and I think the Imodium slowed my gastric absorption, and so I just wasn't able to take in anything, or I wasn't absorbing anything, and I was just really weak. So that was a good lesson, you know? It was hard because in the past I've taken Imodium during the races and it was fine. So who knows? At altitude, it's not. Who knows? But, you know, it's one of those things where I'm thinking about a beginner's mindset versus a veteran's mindset. I've been doing this for over 10 years and I feel like I have a lot of experience. And maybe if I didn't have a little packet of medication of like have Imodium with me and I didn't pop it right when I had some GI upset, maybe I would have been just fine in a couple miles and been able to race hard the rest of the race. But yeah, it wasn't my day, but it was Ann Flowers' day. So if you don't know who Ann Flowers is, she is amazing and she just broke this amazing course record. So I'm really happy for her and it was her day, it was her time, and on to the next.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the who won. Yeah, and I saw that it was all over Instagram, like
Good.
who
Yes, it
won
should
and what
be
happened.
a 31-year-old
Yeah,
record. An Ann Trayson record. I mean,
yeah,
that to me was so incredible. It was her first 100-miler. So Ann, I interviewed Ann on my own podcast. I have a podcast also. It's called the Trail Network Podcast. If anybody's interested, I do it with 3 other professional runners, women, and we have so much fun. But we interviewed Ann, and it was so fun to hear her side of the story because she kept thinking that I was right behind her, you know? And it's just fun. Like, I think in a way, I feel like I did help to push her, you know, which is fun, you know, that I was a part of her story. And she set this incredible course record that I hope she gets tons of media for because she deserves it. And yeah, and the sky's the limit for her. So, you know, I really care about the people in this sport and I have so much respect. Really, for every person that toes the line. It's a really hard sport.
it is. I think I wrote to her saying, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" But yeah, anyways, it is hard, and I think the marathon gets so much coverage, and when you if you look at in terms of effort, then ultra running is probably much harder because you have to, especially the multi-day event and back at ultra, running 100 miler is not easy. You know, it's like it takes everything,
And there's so much
and
that
you
can
have
go
to
wrong.
think of so many things. Yeah,
So
yeah,
much that can go wrong,
and
right?
then
A marathon is pretty
yep,
straightforward. Like you're running, you know, like and there's lots of people like it's much more predictable. Of course things can go wrong, right? But it's way more predictable than an ultra. An ultra is so uncertain and that's what makes it for me fun because there's no way of knowing all the obstacles that are going to come at you and so you try and address all the things that you can control, but there's going to be things that you can't control and you just kind of keep pulling from the toolbox. What can I do to solve this problem? What can I do to keep moving forward? And yeah, you give it your all. And that's the point, you know? So
it is. We were talking. You mentioned when we started the podcast, you did the first 50K, and then you immediately wanted to do Western State, and now you have multiple top 10 finishes on it. And why is the reason that you keep on doing it? What is so special about Western States for you?
yeah, so I'm very, you know, obviously from the United States, I live in California. Western States is only 4 hours from my house. So for me, it's kind of my backyard race. And it happens to be one of the most prestigious competitive races in the world. So for me, I just have found, you know, such a community there. And it's so much more than the race itself. You know, Western States is it's a nonprofit. It has a huge board. There's thousands of volunteers that are a part of it that really, you know, do thousands upon thousands of trail work hours and commitment to the trail and to the race. And for me, it's you know, coming home. You know, I feel like Western States did make my career in a lot of ways, and I love the history of Western States and chasing ghosts of the past. And really, the competition is so fun and electric that, you know, even when I haven't raced it, the last 2 years I haven't raced it, I've crewed and paced, and you know, so it's one of those things where you want to be a part of it no matter what because it's such a big deal and it feels so special to be a part of it. And yeah, you feel like such an incredible family there. you look around at Western states, and I know so many people because I've been doing it for so long. And then you start to meet the people that have been there for decades. And yeah, it's just a really special place. So I love Western states. Before I got into Western states, I went to the Western States training camp, which is a 3-day camp that covers 70 miles of the course. And you don't have to be in the race to be a part of that training camp. And it was so fun. And I got to meet so many people. And I didn't know anybody when I went there. I mean, I wasn't a professional. I had never, didn't know what I was doing. And I just made all these friends just from showing up to this 3-day course. And I wanted to hear like Forest Hill and Michigan Bluff. And I wanted to see them with my own eyes. And now, of course, I have so many memories in those places, and I've been to training camp, I think, the last 6 years. And it's just such a great place for me. So yeah, I love Western states. I want to keep going back, but I also have lots of other races I want to do. And yeah, I'm here for the long haul. So I want to keep racing and exploring.
Yeah, I was interviewing, I think Caroline. I talked with her last week, and she explained it to me the history of Western State, how it used to be the back right in the horse riding and everything, and her family from generations used to do the horse riding, and I think she said she's like the 10th person or 20th person to do both, finishing the horse
Oh,
riding on the
wow.
horse ride and then on the ride. Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
that was so fascinating. Yeah, it was like, oh wow, and I didn't know that before, and I was like, wow, that was a nice conversation to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Tevis
And
Cup, and it's, there's so much history there about Gordon Ainsley and how he finished, and made the first 100 miler. But there's an even bigger story there about how the race actually began. And yeah, so it's very exciting to learn about the history and also the future of the sport, and how we really feel like Western states kind of pioneers like some big important, like the ethos of the sport, like having a maternity leave, right? Or having transgender policy, and having, making sure that people that come from all over the world have a place to stay. And there's a whole program for people that are out of the country, and making sure they get pacers and have a host family. And, there's all these really kind of progressive leadership focused, or initiatives, I guess, that Western states does, that I feel really strongly about. And I love that they are one of the leaders in our sport.
yeah, it is. I didn't know, and when we were talking, it was so fascinating for me too. Those knowing, wow, that history has a lot of things, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably never do Western State, but that is like, wow, one day if I could do it, then it would be such a cool thing to do, because it has so much history
If you could do
and
any race in the United States,
and
what would you
culture.
do?
Oh God, I have only said this to three people, but Kokodana is. I
Wow.
gave myself three
Okay.
years I gave myself 3 years, 3 years for it, and I said that is the race that I want to do it. So yeah, I put myself. I have 2028 is the year that I'm gonna try it. So yeah,
Let's
that is. I
go.
I talk,
That's awesome. I
yeah, I
love
talked to
it.
my cousins.
We
Yeah, I don't know if I can do it, but that
That's
is
the
the goal.
point, right? That's why you got to do it. So we have a new race in Mammoth Lakes. If any of our listeners have heard of, it's called Mammoth Trail Fest. We've been doing this for 3 years, but we're having another race this year called the Mammoth 200. And because 200s are so popular now, and we have a 200
Yeah,
miler that goes around the entire valley and in this Eastern Sierra, it's stunning, beautiful, and it's hopefully going to be this is the first debut year, but hopefully it's going to be successful and occurring every year. So you should come out to that too. After Cocodona, and you feel really good about the 250 distance, you'll be like, oh, I'll just do a 200, no problem.
it is. I need to work on the elevation, because the ultra I did was only 100, 1,000 meters. It was not a lot, right? It's not a lot any means if you are trying to run these bigger races or any longer distances. And I have never seen hills that goes for 5 kilometers, and I was like, there is no hill in Berlin that goes of five
Right? How
kilometer,
do you
and I
train
was
for
like,
that?
oh
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
yeah, I did not. And there was a hill, and it was not even a hill. It was probably 20-meter elevation or 30-meter maximum. And I trained downhill for to run. Maybe it was a kilometer, but when I reached the top of that first hill, that was 150 meters, it was a 15 kilometer, 16 kilometer downhill, and that's where it was like, oh my God, I have not trained.
Yeah.
And I know now that what the hill training should be.
Yeah, that's a good
It
point
was hard.
because you can do some uphill. You can do Stairmaster, you can do uphill treadmill, you can, do bleachers, right? Like where you're running like up and down stairs, that sort of thing. But it's the eccentric loading of the quad where you're needing that downhill stimulus is so important. Yeah, and I felt that a lot at Canyons 100K this past year where wow, my quads were absolutely shot because I think I was training on sand a lot for the downhills and just because it was mostly snow. And so I had to go to areas that had more sand and to get those downhills and it just didn't harden up my quads as much. And so, yeah, it was really shocking how important you need those quads. And once those quads are
Yeah.
cooked, there's really nothing you can do. You can be doing everything else right, but you can't even move forward well unless if you don't have those quads. So yeah, definitely I will never make that mistake again of the descending on sand. That didn't work. So yeah, it's making sure you get the downhills in. Even if like, 5 weeks out 4 weeks out going somewhere that has big hills and just having a weekend of pounding the legs, I think would be really good. Yeah. Yeah. Having some stimulus is
I,
important.
yeah. I had something, but it was downhill of, it was very steep downhill, but only like 400 meters. But
Okay.
I have never thought that there was a 16-kilometer downhill.
Right.
I never imagined, and it was, my quads were gone. So yeah,
Yeah.
after that it was just trying to finish it, which I did, but it was the hardest thing that I've ever done, and it was like,
But you did
but
it.
lesson learned. Like you said, I'm now, yeah, I did it, and like you said, power hiking and I speed so fast when I'm coming downhill. That's a rookie mistake. Marathon mindset. I'm learning. It was like a hard lesson, but I'm gonna train for it now. Downhill is very crucial. I notice if you're training for a high elevation one, so I think
Yeah.
next time I'm gonna be more prepared.
That's a hard thing. What you just said was the speed on the downhill, though, because you don't also want to brake. Because if you brake while you're running downhill, that can also affect your quad. So you just kind of have to like let your body flow and let gravity take you
Yeah,
and try
exactly.
not to brake, but not try and like speed up maybe, but just try and, kind of get through the downhill as flowing, as flowy as you can.
I speed up. I was like, I'm gonna catch those people, and it was such a bad mistake. Never again. I'm never doing it again. And I think one of the interesting thing to know about you would be like when you were talking about earlier on Leadville, and I'm sure there are so many other races that you have gone and done, where the race that broke you, and if certain section of the races are hard and you're feeling so low, how do you do or what do you do to get back from that slump?
Most importantly, I fuel, right? So every time I'm have starting any negative thoughts kind of creep in or I, look at a hill, I should be running that or like anything negative. Um I always go to gel. Like the first thing I think of is I need to fuel. And I think that generally in life, like if I'm irritable with my kids or something, I'm like, I need to eat, like I'm always eating all the time. And I think that that's really important. And I think during a race, you can kind of get a little loopy and forget about all the tools that you do have. And so for me, fueling is number one. I a couple things that happened at Leadville. I did take polls, and so that was really helpful because I was very weak and not running the way I wanted to run. And so, especially on the descents, I just was determined to not hurt myself or sprain an ankle or something. And there was really rooty and rocky. And so I was happy I had my poles to be able to help with that and to just keep moving as fast as I could. And so I think trying to just be like, all right, this is what I have. I'm going to keep moving forward with what I have and trying not to get down on myself about that I'm not hitting my expectations or what I'm capable of, that this is the day I was given and that this is where my stomach is and I'm not taking in these calories. And so I'm going to do what I can and I'm going to keep trying and maybe it's going to turn around and maybe it's going to turn around. I think the truth is that when you're doing as best you can, it's like, it's hard. It's, I can't get down on myself. I'm proud of myself. I'm literally going as fast as I can. I remember like around mile 76 or so when I was in second place and the third place girl passed me. So then I was in third place and I was proud of her. Like my gut reaction was like, gosh, like she did it. She's cruising and she's having a day and I'm so happy for her. Like I think when you look around and you're like happy for other people, it's like instead of getting angry at her or jealous or mad that she's just went in front of you, that sort of thing. It's more of like, I'm proud of you. Good job. Like, good luck. Go get it, because that lifts you up. And the more positive that you can be to other people, like if you have a pacer, well, in the United States, we have pacers a lot, and if you are able to lift up other people, it does do something to yourself, like to help get you into a better mood too, of like, we're all in this crazy sport together and this is not everything, right? Like I have so much more in life than just this moment. And it kind of helps you kind of bring back perspective. So yeah, for me, I think number one is fueling, making sure you're taking in the calories. And number two is, I would say, using the tools you have, like such as polls, something that can keep you moving forward. And number three, I would say would be, smiling like to other people and encouraging other people. If you're both having a hard time together, saying things like, we got this, like, come on, good section here, or whatever, trying to connect with your other competitors and lifting each other up. And then number three, don't let yourself ever say anything out loud that's negative, like I'm tired or this is really hard, or like that's not helpful, right? Like only positive things come out of your mouth and only positive thoughts. Like if you're saying those things like I'm tired, reframe that. Instead of I'm tired, it's I need calories, or wow, I've gone really far, like things that instead of a negative connotation of like, wow, like I earned this pain cave, right? I earned this feeling of fatigue, which is such a different way of thinking. Instead of going down on yourself, it's being like proud of yourself and encouraging yourself. So the self-talk is really important out there. And I think if you can really lean into reframing and preparing with those reframing words before the race, then it will be easier when you're out there having a hard time.
That makes so sense. Instead of negative, focus on the positive. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. I had so many.
Right? Like you'd say things like, like before the race, being ready for that. Like, you're going to have a hard moment. So when you're in your hard moment, what's the first thing you think? Fuel, right? Like gels, whatever, like eat something. But being prepared for a mantra, something that is a positive thing, like I earned this fatigue, I earned this pain, I earned this whatever, like being proud of yourself and being ready for that feeling, because it's going to come in any race, it's going to come. And so I think you got to prepare for it beforehand, and the mental preparation is just as important as the physical.
Yes, definitely agree. I think I was editing the episode with Jesse, and I remember the clip. It says, if you quit now, you can't go back. Quitting is forever. And that was in my head when I was going to that second hill, that was the toughest section. And once I reached on top and trying to go down, my legs stopped moving after 30 kilometers. And I remember that. And like you said, problem solving. So I started counting literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I took 30 steps and 50 steps walking, 30 steps. And after a while, it was fine. And I was able to run longer. And I think it has been so helpful talking to so many people from this podcast. And I have been able to use whatever I hear now. You told me something that now next time I'm in that pain cave or in that mindset where I'm just like, I'm tired, then maybe I need to refresh myself and eat more gel and try to be more positive about look how far I have been instead of that. So I'd like that. I like, yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to use it. I'm using everything I've got.
Yeah, I've used that all the time. Like if somebody passes you, I'm like, oh, their gel just hit them faster. Like my gel's about to start working. I'm about to get energy too. Like not letting it go make you sad, you know? Like, okay, good. Their fuel is working. Now mine's about to start. And then also thinking about your future self. I think about my future self so much out there. How do I make my future self proud? And I know for me, it's knowing that I gave everything I had out there. And so that's making my future self really proud, and always thinking about that Katie that's the next day, you know, or the person that you're going to live with after. Yeah.
And talking about that, so would you imagine if Katie, that was the nurse practitioner who was running to overcome the trauma she saw, that Katie would imagine you would be doing a professional athlete and trailing against your other ultra runners?
No, definitely not. And that's what I started with, was how amazing life is. And if you just say yes to things you love and that you care about, that, you know, you never know where life's going to take you. And yeah, I'm really lucky that I was in a privileged place that I could run in the mountains, and fell in love with something that is a lifelong sport for me. And yeah, I'm very lucky and happy that I said yes to those things and that it fell into my lap. And yeah, I never manifested any of this. I did not think I'd ever be a professional athlete. I'll tell you that.
And if you look back at your career, right? So you used to be just run to overcome whatever thing you have seen, and now you are competing against top other athletes around from the world, not just United States. So what has been one of your favorite moments and one of your least favorite moments, or the low moments in your running journey so far?
Yes, I would say my favorite moment of my career so far. That's really hard because I have a lot of favorites. But I was competing for the podium at Western States in 2023. Courtney won and set the course record. Katie Scheid was second. And so in my mind, Katie Scheid and Courtney, like I wasn't competing against them. So for me, in my mind, I was competing for first and second, but it was really third and fourth. And I was with Esther Chilog, and I knew Esther because we work on the Professional Trail Running Association together, and she is a good friend of mine. But at the time, you know, we hadn't had this experience together, and we were competing for third and fourth. And of course, I wanted a podium at Western States, and I was giving it my all. And I dropped my pacer, and so I was running with her and her pacer. And it's fun looking back too, because they were both HOKA, and I was running for Saucony, and now they are both my teammates, and so that's kind of fun too. But anyways, we were competing, and it was just these moments. I remember this one moment we were at an aid station, and I could have taken off, but I wanted to stick with her because we were working really well together. And you know, things like offering each other ice and like, are we eating? Like we were more working together than competing. And it was such a beautiful moment because, you know, we were running for third place at Western States. Like you would think it was cutthroat and like, you know, just fierce. And of course it was fierce. Like we were giving it our all, but we were also like, we were loving each other out there. Like we were working together. We were encouraging each other and wanting the best out of each other. And I feel like with competition, you always want the other person to be their best selves, and that pushes you to be your better self. And so that for me was a really special moment. And she beat me, and she got third and I got fourth, but it was the best race of my life. And it was so much fun. And I crossed that finish line just overwhelmed with joy, and just like, we looked at each other and we were just like, moms, you know, because we were like, very few moms are competing at the level we're competing at. And it was just like really, really special moment, and a race I'll never forget. Yeah, I kind of want to end there because there's been some lows, but I think we'll just stick to the highs.
Yep. I did talk to her, and amazing. What she has done and what she is trying to do. And we talked about the races were making it more friendly for moms, you know, like all the dads are running and moms are not running. So I think that was a really good episode. And a few things left before we sign off. So I think these are the questions I ask to everybody. Why do you run?
It makes me feel connected to myself, to the earth, to the community, and it makes me a better person.
Before we sign out, there are two things left. I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of random questions, maybe 5 or 6. So whatever things comes to your mind first when I ask this. Coffee or tea before you run?
Coffee.
Favorite race you have ever done?
Western states.
Mountains or deserts?
Mountains.
I think this should be easy. Western states or Leadville?
Western states, though I do want to go back to Leadville and perform well there.
Hardest climb you have ever faced?
Right now, all I can think about is Hope Pass because I was really nauseous and feeling well going up Hope Pass. I also climbed 3 14ers with my kids in 2 days, like 14,000. I don't know what that is in meters, feet, peaks. And one of them, I actually didn't make it to the top because it was just free soloing, like meaning no ropes. And we were just climbing and it was terrifying. And my kids did it. And I was like, was not. I was so scared that they were going to fall off this massive peak and they made it. And they said, Mom, we're never doing that again. That was so scary. And I'm like, thank God. So I guess those two things come to mind.
One runner you would love to race head to head?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, this is tricky.
There's so many. All my friends, I love racing. I want to race all of you. I mean, one runner. I guess, you know what? I really want to race Danny Moreno she's gonna race. Well, I'm not gonna say what she's gonna race, but I really want to race her. She's one of my good friends here in Mammoth, and she's one of the best 50K runners in the world, or in my opinion, the best. And she is going up in distance at CCC, and I'm really excited for her to race the 100K distance. And she has another 100K she's thinking about, and I want to race. I'm planning on racing that race too, and so it'll be fun to race together. So I'll go with Danny.
Okay. One person, dead or alive, that you would want as a running partner.
Michelle Obama.
And this is the final question. I usually ask this to everybody. If you can, then please finish this sentence. Running has changed my life because.
It's opened doorways.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. You have given me some tools, and this was a really nice conversation to have. Learn about you, learn about Leadville, and then Western States. Got few more new information from this too. So yeah, I really appreciate you taking your time and talking with me.
Thanks so much for having me, Ash.
Yep, thank you. And I'm gonna be looking for the next race and see how you do now. So
Yeah,
thank
thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.